Got it? Let's go. Likkutei Tzav, page Yud Zayin, second column, 15 lines approximately from the top of the page. Okay, the last thing the Alter Rebbe is explaining is that Lasud Lave is the splitting of the Nar Pros, because that's the level of Chochmah, and that's just like Kriyas Yamsuf is a preparation for Matan Torah, because it had to be, Matan Torah was the way Atzilus through mitzvahs comes into Bria Tzir Nasiyah. So therefore, there had to be Kriyas Yamsuf, which is splitting of the Yam, which is Malchus, that conceals Atzilus coming into Bria. So the same thing, before Mashiach comes, there has to be this level of the splitting of Nahar Pros, not the Yam, which is stationary, but now the river flowing, which is the level of Chochmah, because when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a revelation of the secrets of Torah, and not only that, it's going to be in a way of Arenu Neflois, of seeing, not necessarily understanding. Now we understand the Lukus. We don't see a Lukus. Well, see, now he says, he's going to say that now. The level of seeing, which is the level of Chochmah itself, it says in the writings of the Arizal, when the Arizal went for a nap on Shabbos afternoon for, I think it was half an hour, Shama b'yeshiva shomayla, but Parshas Baloko Bilam, he heard, because when you sleep, your neshama goes up. So I won't tell you when we sleep where our neshama goes, but by tzaddikim, when they sleep, the neshama goes up. So on Shabbos afternoon, the Arizal had a nap, his neshama went up, and he heard in the heavenly yeshiva about the Parsha Balak and Bilam, Dvarim Nifloim, wondrous things, that is all right. It would take him 80 years to non-stop, the tzufim means non-stop, explaining what he saw in that half hour. What does that mean? Is that tamur l'cha'ira? That's wondrous. How is it possible that one half an hour minute, of matzar chlemer v'diber peishana? Okay, I understand thought works quicker than words. You know, they say one of the reasons some people stutter is because the mind is working quicker than the mouth. So the thoughts are working quicker. But to that extent, that a half an hour is 80 years non-stop talking, it's a wonder. Even though the letters in Machshava are called As and Rav in big letters. Why because in thought, what you get in a little bit of time. Okay? And therefore he says in the parentheses, that's why Shabbos you say the Aleph is a Kel Odein. You know, we say on Shabbos, right? They say Kel Odein al Kol HaMa'asim. Yeah? So now, Kel Odein al Kol, okay, then there's the whole Aleph base. Kel Odein al Kol HaMa'asim, Baruch Hu Mevarech V'fikol, Godly V'tuvim Aleilam, the whole Aleph base is there. And every letter, every Dalet, Hey Tevis, every letter has 4 or 5 words. For instance, Aleph has, not they're all Aleph, but the phrase of Aleph is Kel Odein al Kol HaMa'asim, Baruch U'mevarech B'fi Kol HaNeshama. So it has 4 or 5 letters. Fisha Aleph Beizeh is it called the level of As and Ravivin, big letters, the Hainu Machshava. The Alter Rebbe is just saying in the parentheses, why does the Aleph have 5 words in it, and the Beis have 5 words in it, in that stanza, So he explains, because thought works quicker than speech. So in thought, the Aleph takes 5 letters. So then it makes sense that in a quarter of an hour, it takes an hour or 2. So it makes sense that in 15 minutes, it takes an hour or 2 to talk. But that's almost impossible. How is it possible that the Arizal in his sleep for half an hour saw what takes 80 or even more years non-stop talking? So the Alter Rebbe explains, how did that happen? Aval inyan shasagose b'chinas re'iyah. When the Arizal went to sleep, he didn't understand the half an hour for 80 years. He sought the essence of Chochmah, not the way it comes into being of Asaga. In Aces, it's infinitely greater than intellect. That comes into letters, actually you're talking to the extent it's possible. What he sees in an hour or two, when he wants to put it into 8 letters, it'll take Samach Shana 7 years. You know, what's all that I'm explaining over here? We're saying that when Mashiach comes, there's going to be the revelation of Chachma. Therefore, the Nahar river, which also blocks, the old water blocks, you don't see what's in it, but it flows, so it's the level of Chachma, Nevel is Chachma, the flowing of Chachma. That's going to be split because the level of Chachma is going to be revealed. The level of Chachma is not understanding. Bina is understanding. Chachma is when somebody, even in our language, you're explaining something to somebody and they say, oh, I see. You don't see. You're hearing it. You're understanding it. What do you mean, oh, I see? It means is that the way you understand it is so firm, unquestionably so, that it's like you saw it. Like we said yesterday, if I see this thing on the table, I see it, and you bring 100 proofs that it can't be on the table, you're not going to change my mind because I saw it. If I tell you I understand something, and then you prove to me I don't understand it, so then I'll give in, I don't understand it. But seeing is believing. That's the level of Chachma. That level of Elokus, that all of us are going to see Elokus, not understand godliness, but actually see Elokus, Arenu Niflois, that's the Gili of Mashiach. So in order for that to happen, the level of Chachma, which represents seeing versus understanding, that's why you say seeing is believing. Belief is above understanding. If you understand it, you don't have to believe it. I understand it. Believing is where intellect ends, belief begins. Like we learned many times. Emunah begins where Seichel ends. Right? So seeing is believing means it's a level completely above Seichel. That means it becomes one with you. We learned already, discussed this many times. The Rebbe brings this down. Mercedes brings it down, but the Rebbe in a Maimer brings it down in a comment. There's a halach in Torah, a Bezdin is walking in the street, and they see a murder take place. Yeah? So they're witnesses to a murder. They cannot sit as judges on the case. There's a rule in halacha, especially by capital punishment, ein eid nasa dayim. A witness, an eid, cannot become a judge. So the question is, that should be better than testimony. Like this, they hear it from a witness. Maybe the guy's lying, maybe he's not lying, whatever. Here they saw it themselves. Why can't they be, and they're not kosher, the mamish, if they're the only witnesses, the guy gets off scot-free. Because they're not kosher witnesses. Why aren't they kosher witnesses? Because a witness has to be impartial. The Torah says about witnesses, v'shaftu ha'eda, v'yitzilu ha'eda. They have to judge the community and be able to make them innocent, save them. That means halachically, in order for a witness to testify, he has to be able to be impartial. Once Bezdin saw the murder, they are not impartial anymore. Like if I hear it from witnesses, I can still doubt it. I can say maybe they're lying, maybe somebody else will come say differently, maybe it'll be 2 against 2, whatever. You have to be impartial, because when you see something, you and the thing you see become one. Why does Chassidus explain, and even Moses from, but they explain it differently than Chassidus from. Why do you always speak about guarding your eyes? Guarding your eyes, right? All the Muslim books speak about guarding your eyes. Why? It doesn't say so much guarding your ears, because when you see something, it has infinitely more, not infinitely, but a tremendously more impact on the person, affects the person more than you just hear it. That's the fact. We know that when you see something, it has much more impact on your nefesh.
But that relates to Gilui Arayot. It's very effective.
That's the most practical way. But it doesn't matter, this is different. The point is, seeing has a bigger impact on the neshama than listening. And in a positive way, that means that when Mashiach comes, the level of Elokus will be revealed, not a level of understanding Elokus, but actually seeing Elokus in a way that it's like, believe it, it can't be any other way.
Is that why now high is more revelation than down?
Correct. Because Nar is Chachma and Yam is Bina or Malchus.
Even though Nahai is smaller.
Smaller doesn't matter.
Flow.
Big things come in small packages.
Nurture. Flows.
Okay. Well, that no, I'm sorry, you skipped. Okay. That's why the same thing you find in. Remember, we were discussing yesterday. Time is a creation. It was also created at the beginning of the world. So he says, in the way from above time comes into time, right? It means Elef Shana Beinacha Kiyem Esmel. What do we say in Tillim? We say Shabbos and davening. Ki Elef Shana Beinacha Kiyem Esmel. But as Hashem, 1,000 years is like yesterday. Yeah, it's a long time. 1,000 years in one. It's like one day, because Hashem is above time. Yet it's still 1,000 years. 1,000 years is also time. But when it comes down in Shtalshus, from above time to time, it's like the difference of 1,000 years to one day. They tell a guy once came to Hashem and says, God, in your eyes, all the money is in the world is like, nothing. He says, God, maybe you can give me some of that money, but you, it's anyway like $1. So Hashem said to him, wait a day. By Hashem, a day is 1,000 years. So the guy said, but you by Hashem, all the money in the world is like nothing, so give me a little bit of nothing. I said, okay, wait a day. Wait 1,000 years, and then I'll give it to you.
But in reality, all of history is in front of Hashem 1 second.
Yeah, we say that in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur davening.
So 1,000 years to a day is
But
not
that's what he's saying. The reason why he says 1,000 years is because that's when time begins. Alefcha Chochma, Alefcha Bina is where time begins in the level of Chochma, in world. Above world, there is no time. Because place begins, world, even spiritual worlds. Spiritual world is a spiritual place. We don't get that stuff. But bottom line is, just like there's a physical world that has physical space, spiritual worlds are spiritual place. Like the Rambam says, at the beginning of Hilchos, you say that Torah. When you speak about the angels, it says, Surafim emdim mimale. The Surafim stand on top of the Ifanim. The Surafim, Ifanim, Chayis. We say that in davening, So it says in the Pasuk, Surafim emdim mimale. The Surafim stand above the Ifanim. So the Rambam says, over there, there's no steps. Here you could be on the second floor, so you're higher than the first floor. But in the spiritual realm of angels, how do you have higher and lower? So the Rambam says it's a metaphor for higher spiritual and lower spiritual, meaning a greater understanding of godliness. Angels that are on a greater level of understanding of Hashem are called higher. Those angels that have a lesser understanding. But there is spiritual place, and there's spiritual time. But spiritual time and place begins where worlds begin. Right? So therefore, above time, there is no time. And then it comes into time. And he said, Moshe Rabbeinu said, what did Moshe Rabbeinu say? Let me go and see the land. He didn't say, let me go live in the land. He said, let me go see the land. Why? At the end, by Chumash, after he passed away, it says he saw he wanted to reveal that level of seeing godliness. What the Jews are called Eretz Chayfetz. Let me explain this. The pasuk says, whoever, "Va'atem tili eretz chayfetz." Hashem says about the Jewish people, you should be for me a desirable land. Should be for me a desirable land. So the Baal Shem Tov explained, what does it mean the Jews are a desirable land? Just like all precious materials are mined from the ground. Gold, silver, diamond, everything comes from the ground. So the same thing the Baal Shem Tov said, what does it mean a Jew is a desirable land? That Jews have within themselves, buried in the ground, buried within us. There's unbelievable, infinite potential of a neshama, of godliness. So the Alter Rebbe is saying over here, what did Moshe Rabbeinu say? Let me let me see it. What did Moshe Rabbeinu say? Let me see the land. He wanted to bring down, this is what Moshe Rabbeinu cared about before he died. He wanted to bring out into the Jews, into Eretz, into the desirable land of the Jew, which is the Jew. He wanted, he said, Hashem, before I die, let me bring the level of seeing godliness into the Jews. And Hashem said, sorry, boychik, you're not going in. What does that mean? Moshe wanted, because he loved Jews so much, he wanted to reveal the level of seeing Elokus into the Jews. Hashem said, boychik, you got a few thousand years when Mashiach comes, it's happening. You're not accomplishing that level yet.
So what does Ebron mean over?
Ebron, you can speak, let me go on a higher level, Eved Anor, a higher level, and let me see. V'lei po'al. That's why he said, V'ati Yisrael, Shma el achukim. He said, if I can't get into the Jews the level of Re'iyah, he said, V'ati Yisrael, Shma es achukim, at least, okay, understand it. Kiyam la'asad yiligi zeh, b'k'netz Yisrael eidei Mashiach. Because the level of Re'iyah is kept for Mashiach. That's going to do the level of Re'iyah into the Jewish people. So therefore, as the prerequisite, the preparation for Mashiach, Mashiach has to split the Nar Pros. Split, meaning reveal the level of Chacham, which is the level of seeing godliness, and that's what we're going to have when Mashiach comes. What?
Didn't Hashem show him the land?
Huh?
Didn't Moshe see?
He saw it from the distance, but he wasn't able to internalize that within the Jew. If you would have physically gone in, it would have happened. But Hashem said, no, it's not happening.
Not yet.
We find throughout Jewish history, remember we learned, Yitzchak wanted to bless Esav, because Esav is higher in the source, and Yitzchak wanted to reveal that basically what will happen then, and then Yaakov Avinu wanted to do that. I mean, everybody wanted to do that, but, or Yaakov said to Esav, Esav said, let's go together. Yaakov said, no, I will eventually come to you when Mashiach comes. Tzaddikim tried to do certain things, and they really fought for it and pushed for it. And for whatever reason it is, they didn't make it happen yet. Listen, Yud Nisan is coming up, yeah? The Rebbe pushed for Mashiach. You can't imagine the sichos and what the Rebbe did for Mashiach to come. The Pearl, in Gashmis, it didn't happen yet. Why? That's the guy up there.
So therefore they suffer, right?
I was arguing, I just had a discussion, I was in the valley last night. So a woman came over to me after the class, we were talking. She said, why is God doing all these terrible, cruel things? And people have problems, so you blame God. I said, okay, She said every day she wakes up, she doesn't go into COL. She wants to see if Mashiach came in. I said, you're great, I don't even do that. It is what it is. But the Rebbe pushed for Mashiach to come, and the Rebbe is still alive spiritually, and he's still pushing in heaven. They said, it's brought down, the Rebbe brings down this thing. There are certain tzaddikim that said, the Berditchever said, other great tzaddikim said, when I die, I'm going to heaven, I'm not gonna let God off the hook until he brings Mashiach. But many tzaddikim said that. So it says, so what happened? So they say, but the Berditchever, Hashem showed him a little bit of Olam Haba, and he was pacified. So he basically bribed him with a little level of a kuss so that he stopped bugging him. And then the later time he says, no, I'm not going to let go. Obviously he did let go. Whatever. But tzaddikim always try to do things that were not supposed to be done yet. How do we know it's not supposed to be? Because it didn't happen. If tzaddikim want to accomplish something, they accomplish it. Unless the Mishnah says, I'm waiting for something bigger than that. If I'm waiting for something bigger than that, then it's not happening yet.
Same way that Arizal saw 80 years in 30 minutes.
Whatever, 30 minutes an hour, what I think it's 30 minutes, no? But what does Rashi say? Rashi says in the Medrash, Moshe Rabbeinu saw the last day. Moshe Rabbeinu, before he died, saw us, yokels, sitting here hacking a chainik. Moshe Rabbeinu saw all the levels of Elokus on the highest of levels.
Same way Rebbe saw the Mashiach. Same way.
I don't know what the Rebbe saw, he never told me. I can assume a lot of things. That doesn't mean... my assumptions are usually wrong, especially in these things. Tzaddikim have a different eye. We say in Halal season's coming up, yeah? Einayim lehem v'lo yiru. We say in Shabbos davening also, Einayim lehem v'lo yiru. We have eyes, what do we see? Nothing. Right? Atzabem kesed yod ma'asid yodam. Einayim lehem yiru. We don't see anything. We think we see. We know what's going on. Tzaddikim are called Einei ha'eda, the eyes of the community, because they taka see what's going on. And because they taka see what's going on, their approach of what needs to be done at the present situation is what makes things happen. Throughout history, there are certain aspects of Torah that were revealed later on and not earlier. Certain customs were revealed later on, not earlier. Right? Why? If everything was given to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai, everything was given to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai. All customs. Torah, right? Everything was given to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai. Why did this guy reveal it 1,000 years ago, and 500 years ago, and 100 years ago? And why? Because the world didn't need it yet. Everybody asks the question, if Chassidus was given by Matan Torah, and Chassidus is so important, why wasn't it revealed earlier? It should have been revealed 1,000 years ago. Revealed. It was existent from Matan Torah. So the Rebbe explains, because the world didn't need it. There are certain cures. Before COVID, you didn't need a cure for COVID. Before AIDS, you didn't need a cure for AIDS. Before cancer, you didn't need a cure for cancer. Whatever. When the illness comes into the world, that's when you need the remedy. So the Rebbe with the Miftzoyim, or what the Rebbe picks, people were telling me, why you pick those 10 mitzvahs? The Rebbe said, you want to pick others, pick others. I'm picking these 10, because they have certain unique qualities to these mitzvahs that the time needs. So the Rebbe said, now you have to do this Miftzoyim and these 10 things. Other aspects of customs were revealed later on, not earlier, because the world didn't need it before.
The cancer was always there.
I understand, but because it wasn't revealed, they didn't need a cure for it.
Therefore, there's a difference between seeing and seeing.
Seeing and seeing?
Ruben and Shimon.
Einayim lohem v'lo yiru. Yes? You can have eyes and you don't see anything.
You move, huh?
No, we're still in the tent. We just put a roof over it. Okay, 1 second. The same thing, this gilu is the gilu, time therefore it says, Layin le'rasa. Yasa l'mechaka, like it says, that thou shall yilmid Mashiach. That's what Mashiach is going to teach. What's Mashiach going to teach? Torah chadasha me'itei teitzei is going to be a new level of Torah, not a level of understanding Torah, but seeing Torah. And he says, there's also infinite, even in seeing, you could see partial, you can see the whole thing, you have different ways of seeing. And seeing is what the accomplishment of Torah Mashiach. Now Torah, it says, is in the level of understanding, Shmiya. Mashiach is going to make Torah in the level of seeing. And therefore the Jew and Elokus are one. They're one. Okay, now...
When you see, you're not going to necessarily understand.
No, it's going to be both together. That's why it says about Mashiach. Mashiach is going to have both qualities. The Rambam says this. He's going to have a quality of a melech, of a king, and he's going to be melamed, is called. He's going to be a teacher also. Kings usually don't teach. Mashiach has the advantage of both, a melech and a Mashiach. Moshe Rabbeinu also was. The Rambam says, the Rambam Pascha, Moshe Rabbeinu was melech haya. The Rambam in Yad HaChazaka Pascha, Moshe Rabbeinu was the melech, but Moshe Rabbeinu taught Torah. But the Torah Moshe Rabbeinu taught, he wanted to do Urei Haaretz. Hashem said, no, you can't. That's not your level now. That's distinctly Mashiach's concept. So Moshe Rabbeinu also. But Mashiach is going to have both qualities. That's why the Rambam writes that Mashiach, in Hilchos Tshuva, the Rambam brings it down. It's interesting. In Hilchos Tshuva, he speaks more interesting things about Mashiach than he does at the end. The Rambam speaks about Mashiach in two places. Speaking by Paradum, he says the 10th part of Mashiach is going to make. But where he speaks about the who Mashiach is in Hilchos Tshuva, and at the end, all the way at the end of Rambam, right? In Hilchos Melachim. So in Hilchos Tshuva, the Rambam says that Mashiach is going to be smarter than Shlomo HaMelech, Korev b'nevuah l'Moshe Rabbeinu, close in prophecy to Moshe, because the Torah says, "V'leikam navi eid b'Yisrael k'Moshe." There will never be. But Mashiach's level is higher than nevuah. The Gemara says, "Chacham adaf mi navi." A chacham in Alter Rebbe in Tanya, in Gersa Kodesh, explains the whole concept. But nevuah is a certain level of revelation of Hashem. You have like this, Ruach HaKodesh. When somebody has Ruach HaKodesh, tzaddikim have in divine spirit, yeah? That's a lower level of Kedusha. Below that is even what's called Bas Kol, a voice from heaven. That's what the Gemara in Seita says. There's Ruach HaKodesh, and then Bas Kol is lower. But higher than Nevuah is only a certain level. Most Nevi'im were in Bria. Kayamar Hashem. Right? Even the greatest Navi beside Moshe Rabbeinu, Shaya Navi, was in the level of Bria. Moshe Rabbeinu's uniqueness was the Atzilus. But that's also a Gilui of Atzilus. Mashiach is not the level of Atzilus. Moshe Rabbeinu is the level of Dira B'Tachtonim. The essence of God will be revealed down here. The essence, not revelations, even of Atzilus. Forget Gan Eden, which is only a ray in Bria.
That has nothing to do with
That's, Mashiach is being mamshich that level. That's why sloganized Mashiach is not what Mashiach is all about. Mashiach is about a revelation of the essence of the Likkutei in the world.
Because there's a revelation of essence of the Likkutei, that's what Mashiach does.
That's Mashiach. No. What's the chicken? What's the egg? Mashiach's coming is the revelation of godliness. It's not a human being popping up and said, "Okay, guys, I'm here. Put me on Facebook. Say I'm here." It's just.
We want Mashiach now.